Testing. Am I good? Okay, thank you everyone for coming to the regular meeting of the Moana-Kaka'ako Neighborhood Board. This is our last meeting for 2024. We are now called to order at 6:01 p.m. And the purpose of the neighborhood board is to encourage civic engagement and to ensure that our wonderful neighborhood is a great place to live, work, play, and thrive. We are going to go through roll call.
Chang,
I am here.
Chi,
Present.
Derringer. Not here. Davis.
Here.
Lee. Mariano. Not here yet. 7 members present.
Thank you, Camelia. Moving on to Member Rice.
Very quickly, member rights as well.
Sorry. Member Rice.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Member Rice. Moving on, public safety reports. Honolulu Fire Department, who I believe is here as well as having submitted something through email.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Firefighter 1 Shannon Sasan with the Pu'al Fire Station. I'm just going to pass on the incident statistics for October 24. For fires, we had 1 structure fire. Wildland brush, we had 0. Nuisance fires, which include rubbish fires outside of a structure vehicle, we had 3. And cooking fires, we had 1. And activated alarms, we had, with no fire, are 14. For emergencies, medical emergencies, we had 135. Motor vehicle collisions with a pedestrian, we had 1. Motor vehicle collisions, 8. And no mountain, ocean rescues, and no hazardous material incidents. Fire safety tips and announcements for this month is kitchen and cooking safety. Cooking is the leading cause of home fires. Protect yourself, your family, and your neighborhood by practicing these prevention tips. For more information and resources, visit fire.honolulu.gov. Stay in the kitchen while you are cooking. Do not leave cooking unattended. If you must leave the kitchen, turn off the stove. Keep items such as oven mitts, wooden utensils, towels, etc. away from the stovetop, even when the stove is off. Never store items on top of the stove or cooktop and inside the oven. Keep a lid nearby to smother small grease fires. Smother the fire by sliding a lid over the pan and turning the stove off. Only plug 1 heat-producing appliance, such as a coffee maker, toaster, etc., into an outlet at a time. And create a 3-foot child and pet-free zone around your cooking area. That's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you. Board, questions? Thank you for being
Thank
here
you.
this evening.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Moving on, 2.2, Honolulu Police Department with Lieutenant Arnold Segusio, who is online.
Good evening, Chair Lee and everyone in attendance. Happy Thanksgiving again. Lieutenant Arnold Segusio representing the Honolulu Police Department, District 1 Community Responsibility. I'm going to get right into the stats for the month of October. Motor vehicle thefts looking really good. So for October it was 6. The previous month it was 15. Burglaries was 9 for both months. Thefts are 64, which is down from 116. UMVs or car break-ins, ironically, it's both 28 for both months. Assaults were 12, previous month was 16. Sex assaults were 1, previous month was 5. 1 graffiti case, previous month was 0. Drug-related offense arrests were 17, which is up, which is good. From the previous month, it was 14. So total calls for service for your particular area is 3,381, which is down from the previous month of 4,087. So for the past month of October, we're looking very good in regards to crime prevention in the area. Motor vehicle thefts for the area, down by 60%, and thefts took a dramatic drop by 45%. We're attributing the reduction to our day and night Keomoku initiative for the auto thefts in the area going down. With regards to the thefts, I only can reiterate from the last meeting that Sergeant Ming Wang and his day watch officers have taken ownership in reducing theft cases in the Ala Moana Shopping Center. Sergeant Wang has built crucial partnerships with the stores and mall security. We wanted the general public, especially those undesirables, to know to stay away. We are working hand in hand with our detectives for the area and are forwarding all prosecutable felony cases to the prosecutor's office. During the Christmas season, we'll be reallocating police personnel as well as undercover units to keep the downward trend going. Just a highlighted case from October 2nd in the area of the Alawai Promenade, with an ongoing initiative of Major Okimoto in addressing the residentially challenged issue in the district. In a stored property ordinance operation, or SPO, a repeat offender of a park was arrested. During the arrest, a white crystalline substance resembling that of crystal methamphetamine was recovered from the person in possession. Sergeant Sean Kavako and his crew initiated a felony drug case as well. Maybe through the prosecution, mandatory rehabilitation, this person can break free from the grips of drug addiction. It is right upon us, ladies and gentlemen. Christmas season is here, and Black Friday will be happening in 3 days on the 29th. Our safety tip for the month of November as well as December will be in regards to car break-ins. We usually see a spike of these particular crimes during the shopping season because of our community members getting careless and lazy at times. Don't leave anything in plain sight within your vehicle. Take all your purses and valuables with you when you go shopping. Don't drop off bags to the car and then return shopping. Criminals are watching. And please, please be aware of your surroundings and personal items. Look around and see who's watching you. Keep your purse zipped up and straps across body. Never put your keys or your wallets or cell phones down to do another task. Have those items, and you know what I mean, having those items go straight right into your bag and into your pocket instead of placing it down. At this time, I'm going to yield back the rest of my time and take any questions from the board members and public attendees.
Thank you, Lieutenant Sugucio. Board members, questions? Okay, no questions at this time. Community members? Okay, thank you for being here, Lieutenant Sugucio.
You guys have a great night. Thank you.
You as well.
Moving on to presentations, item 3.1, we have a Ward Village Community Update with Senior Vice President of Planning and Development at Howard Hughes Holdings in Ward Village, Ms. Kailani Sudaro.
Bring it on in. Is that okay? All right. Thank you, Chair Lee. Nice to see everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. Just excuse, I'm getting my voice back. All right. Okay. It's zoomed. Okay, great. Everybody can hear me. Thank you so much. Oh. Is that better? Oh yeah, it is much better. Thank you. Good. Okay. Thanks so much. And so feel free to, if you want to stop me on a slide, I think usually we do pretty good when we do Q&A. So feel free to interrupt. We can treat it as a conversation. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I thought I could do an update. We have a lot of construction in our parks and open space right now. Just to refamiliarize everyone, this is the master plan Ward Village, demarcated in the highlight of yellow around. And we have quite a bit going on in the center of Ward Village right now with the Victoria Ward Park. So I have some progression photos for you, and we'll kind of make our way through. So really exciting. In November, we opened Victoria Place along with the first portion. It's not quite about 1.5 acres, our Victoria Ward Park Makai. And this is the park that connects to the Ala Moana pedestrian joint use path that's going over to Kewala Harbor. There's a great article on Sunday, Star Advertiser, that really spoke to the timeline that Department of Transportation anticipates opening the walkway. It'll probably be in January. So we're in coordination with them on the final landscaping and planting. So you'll really start to see everything kind of green up. Some of the early comments is, there's a lot of retaining walls, and so the planting comes in last. And so it'll really soften it and bring a lot of shade to Almana Boulevard, which is currently, well, it will change once we open, but the intent was also to bring a lot of shade to Ala Moana for the walkers and runners and bikers. So you can see just a little sneak preview. We have some growing in. We just filled the ponds. It's really great. The last 2 years I've been showing renderings. So thanks for believing in our vision, tolerating, some of the detours, both on the sidewalks and driving through Ward Village. But we're really excited. There's an aerial photo on the lower left-hand corner that kind of gives you a feel of how Oahe Street will now connect to Kewalo Harbor. And it's going to be a really fun place and for the community to open up. We anticipate, depending on the rain of December, late December or January. We're just kind of letting the grass grow in, similar to parts of Kewalo Park. Resilient. On the lower right-hand corner, if you have time to come and stroll our Oahe Street, we're really excited. We were able to work with composer Zachary Lum on a commissioned song for the area. And the lyrics of Kaulana Kukule'aeo are in the sidewalk. And it's quite beautiful. It's in Olelo and English. And we have a link on our main Ward Village website if you'd like to hear the song play. And the intent of his, artistry is to welcome people into the park. And so the lyrics will speak to themselves if you have the time to do that. And so it's a means of kind of understanding where you are and then finding yourself in Victoria Ward Park. So we're really thrilled about that. Moving to the Mauka portion. So just last week, unfortunately, we did need to close it. So thank you for bearing with us. We had an interim park here for a number of years, and we just moved the construction fencing out towards Oahe Street so that we could double the size of the Mauka Park from the interim park condition that everybody was familiar with. So the lower right-hand corner is that interim park. And so that's what we put behind the construction fence, and we will be doubling that in size over the next year. And so the left-hand corner is a rendering of what will be when we take it down. And you're familiar, the upper right-hand rendering, I've shown you before, but we will have a dedicated playground in the park area, supplementing the new park playground equipment that HCDA put in at Kewalo Park. And so we're really excited about the doubling of playground equipment. Obviously, our interim park did not have a playground equipment. And so we're really excited about adding more playground equipment to the building in the background. That's Ko'ula. And we do have a lot of new retail and restaurants and commercial businesses in construction right now. So usually, next summer when I come in for an update, I'll be able to share with you some new tenants and eateries that we have that will be in Ko'ula. So along Oahe Street, we partnered with the city through the entire year. Actually, we had pretty significant restriping and paving, some of which made its way to you here about Kamaka'e getting restriped. Oahe Street also dedicated bike lanes were put in, change of bus lane directions. So we're all learning to kind of understand where the bus is going to go now. But there's no parking on Oahe Street like there was on Kamaka'e. But nonetheless, the repavement has happened on Kamaka'e. And so that was a big effort starting at Queen Street, Queen Lane, with the city over the last year, which we've been coordinating with them. And so there will be no city paving or us paving in this area during the holidays to respect the blackout period. So we moved to more of like Ward Avenue and Pohukaina, Kamani Ahui area. For those of you who drive through that part of Kaka'ako, we have really a lot of underground utility work going on now in all three areas with Board of Water Supply, Sewer, and HECO. And so, this is all regional infrastructure, but this is really kind of revitalizing and upgrading and making resilient to, climate change matters also for utilities. And so we have a lot of heavy equipment work, but just kind of a peek behind those construction barricades of what's happening there. And so a lot of utilization happening. And so if, this is probably a year to go for that part of Kaka'ako for us. And so we're starting to, the park Ward Village in the upper right-hand corner, just kind of a drone shot of the new street grid that we're putting in. We're extending Halikuala from Kamakei all the way through to downtown essentially. And so you can see, the park, the green portion, being the park that we just closed, and everything Mauka in that photo is really the new Halikuala Street construction going in. So we will be opening the Halikuala Street extension with the Park Ward Village, with the Mauka Park. So next year is a really big year. So hopefully come the end of the year, I'll be able to come back with photos of all of that having happened. And then on the left-hand side, just kind of peekaboos on the renderings of what the new Ward Avenue, Awahi Street intersection will be. And then kind of an updated photo on the left-hand lower side. And then on the right corner, just a view looking Diamond Head from that Ward Avenue, Awahi Street corner looking back. In Ulana, we hit a really huge milestone topping off for our 100% reserved housing. So they have 700 new homes actively under construction. Here is just a celebratory lunch we did with the construction crew, wine dredging. And then we partnered with the DOE Career Connections Program with the Hawaii Regional Carpenters Training Fund. And we actually have a tour next week with the students of Waipahu High School and intermediate school who are the students in the Career Connections Program. And so that'll be a lot of fun. And we just were able to pause in the heavy work that they're doing. They're about a year and a half in, so it's a huge turning point, and all of you can really see Ulana, on throughout Ward Village. So we're really happy about that. On the new retail and tenant side, we have a new Korean grill, Unki, which opened in Ku'ula on the second floor. That's our first second floor retail tenant to open as a restaurant. So we're really excited about that. And then Dean and DeLuca open on the ground level of Ku'ula on the Halikuala corridor. And then Body Fit Training also just opened recently. This year, we do a lot of volunteer construction projects that's Habitat for Humanity because of the nature of, who works at Ward Village. But we also, Friends of Kiwalo had their annual cleanup. And so we're a regular at that. And the upper left-hand corner is just a la carte cleanup that we participated with that was hosted by Trust for Public Land. And throughout, we had we had our signature Founders Day at the park this summer, and that's something that we will have once the new park opens. So we're going to have that. That's something that we look forward to doing every summer, celebrating our nonprofits that are focused on environmental conservation and open space. And then at Ward Center, we have a bunch of read aloud music seminars and stuff. So just utilizing the courtyard spaces that we have. And then I think many of you have attended our first Saturday in front of South Shore Market. That's been a real hit and an opportunity for us to feature new eatery concepts and restaurants that are opening throughout Honolulu. They're not all Ward Village tenants per se. It's really an opportunity for us to kind of tease out some of the park vendors that we're hoping to have. When Makai Park opens, you'll see that we have 3 kiosks on Oahe Street. And so we're really trying to create opportunities, for small businesses to participate in our open spaces as well. And it is the holidays, so it's great timing. We just published our calendar for events for the community. This is on our main website. All the lights go on Friday. It'll be really beautiful if you're available to come and join us. And we are starting our Aloha music series for the month of December. And so we really encourage everybody to come. And this is just the set list, but there are more events if you have time to go to our website. And last but not least, we just want to, for any new community members or those, now interested, we do publish monthly 3 community newsletters. The one on the left has to do with Kewala Harbor, which we manage. And then in the middle, that's the construction newsletter. That's where we let everyone know to kind of prepare for any traffic or pedestrian detours. And it does have contacts for all of the projects. So, if there's an issue, their email or number is there, and we think that has really helped with community concerns and mitigating things that community sees first. And on the right, it's our retail and restaurant letters. So if you're interested in kind of staying ahead of what's going to open soon, we can send that to you too. And this is my email address for any of those online or in the room who are interested in being added to those newsletters. Thank you.
Ms. Todaro, thank you for that wonderful presentation. I also want to place on record that Member Mariano came in at 6:05 p.m. Questions from the board regarding the presentation? Member Rice.
Thank you so much for all the updates. It's really exciting to be a part of it. I live in the area, so I forgot about this. Thank you so much for your presentation. It's really exciting, especially since I live in the area. There's a lot of rumors going on about Oahe Street. And is Oahe Street going to cut through Eva side of Ward and go attach itself to the other side of Oahe Street? I guess it's past to Cook Street.
So the Oahe Street that we know today will change. It's actually returning to the original Oahe Street Ward Avenue intersection, interestingly enough. So it's going to move Mauka a small block where the First Hawaiian Bank, it's called 250 Ward Avenue. Last year, I had put everybody to share that we're going to demolish that building. So if you can just kind of visualize, it'll go Mauka of the 250 Ward Avenue block. And that portion of the street used to be called Pohukaina. So Oahe will transition into Pohukaina. And yes, it will go all the way downtown.
It does now. So,
It will swing Mauka.
so is that an industrial yard or whatever it is that's there? Will that remain? Because then you got the Kobayashi project on Ala Moana Boulevard. So
So the Oahe Street that we know today, where the old Bank of Hawaii used to be, that will become another plaza parklet. So that portion of Oahe Street will be closed and turned into a parklet. And it's going to be, disorienting for those of us who know the Oahe Street alignment of today, because Oahe will connect to Pohukaina, but the Oahe Street west of Ward will terminate at Ward Avenue at a
it's
park.
going to be confusing because it's Oahe, then Pohukaina, and then there is
Oahe
Oahe again.
Yeah.
So, okay, people just have to learn. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. No, thank you for that question.
Thank you, Secretary Wright. Member Davis.
Sorry, just clarifying that one. So you're talking about the part of Oahe that kind of takes a hard right where the construction is. That part will move over and that section will turn back into a parklet.
Yeah,
Like-
the right is Kamani,
Mhm.
but correct. So the portion that we know Oahe Street that dead ends today and has always dead ended, that's going to be a parklet.
Okay,
And then Kamani will connect to Pohukaina,
got it. Thank you.
which it does now.
Thank you, Member Davis. Member Mariano. And Vice Chair Chu.
So the question I have two questions.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's going to be pet friendly. So, we've been having at this board talking about Ala Moana Beach Park and a place for dogs. So these parks that you're putting up, are there going to be areas where there'll be dog friendly as well? And there'll be little things that goes around so that the owners can have to help pick up after themselves,
So
after
what-
the pet?
Yes, so our current park role was at the interim park, and it will be new. Any animal needs to be leashed. So we're following the city and county of Honolulu's leash law, but all areas are accessible to animals as long as they're leashed. When Makai Park does open, we are adding special receptacles and plastic recycled bag, take and gives, we will stock it, but a lot of communities will also let people give plastic bags or other. And so we have specially designed receptacle trash that will, help to facilitate, the waste management of animals.
So on that going back now to Oahe Street
Yes,
and what you're talking about, has that construction started?
no, it has not.
Okay, so has thoughts been considered that, when you're making that change to maybe put like a roundabout, a small roundabout or something, so that it doesn't confuse the individuals that's been here for a long period of time. Because, you know, when you're going to Google certain things, it's going to come up Oahe Street. The next thing you have these, the change, and then you have Oahe Street again. It's the same as like Victoria Street.
Mhm.
Victoria Street, you know, there's a separation because of the freeway, but then it ends again. So it'll make that much easier.
Thank you for the map quest in Google Maps. We try to reach out to them all the time. Yeah, for street changes. Thank you for flagging that.
Any other board members? Vice Chair Shi.
Yeah, thanks for coming by today and doing this presentation. The park looks really cool. I'm looking forward to being there one day.
Thank you.
I did have a quick question. This might be resolved since this happened a little while ago, but I remember seeing news that in the boat harbor, during the construction of the bridge, I think, they were receiving particles of something that were presumably coming from the development that was impacting the boats and causing like rusting or something. Do you know more info about that and if that issue's been resolved, or if not, what status is that?
Sure. So outside of what's been in the news, I'm not able to speak to that. Outside of what's in the news, I'm not able to comment. Thanks.
For a second, Vice
Is
Chair
your
Rice.
company gonna do anything at Kewalo Basin? I mean, right now it's fun. It's very low key. On the weekend, Saturdays, it's the farmer's market, which is hugely popular.
Mhm.
And I'm sure it leaves Kapiolani's farmer's market a lot for people on this side of Honolulu. But are there any plans to build commercial space or anything like that over there? That was something I remember hearing about a long time ago, but it's kind of been quiet. Haven't heard much.
Sure. So where the farmer's market is at the harbor, that's actually on the Office of Hawaiian Affairs land. It's not a part of our farmer's market that we used to have. Same event organizer, but she was able to move to that location since they paved it. They improved it pretty substantially. We have no development plans for Kewalo Harbor. Kupu is out on the point in the net. I know they have proposed some things that have been on recent HCDA board hearings for their use, but we don't have anything. Member Rice.
Hold up again.
Oh, sure. I'll put it in the chat. Sure. I think I can share it again. Let me read you that.
Secretary Davis, you had a comment?
Just Jeannie, this is kind of helpful, and I was looking into this too, but I knew that OHA, I'm not sure where it transitions from your guys' jurisdiction into the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, but they do and have shared plans they maintain the area from kind of that entry. Yep, that entry all the way through to where the Children's Discovery Center is, and then it turns into HCDA and the Gateway Park. So that's all OHA's jurisdiction, and they have plans on their website, but that might be something that we want to ask them about. But I think there's plans for like a large boardwalk. I don't know what the long-term timeline of that being implemented is.
Thank you, Member Murray.
Thank you, Secretary Davis. Any other board members or questions for Ms. Sodaro? Okay, thank you for being here.
Well, happy gobble gobble. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody have a blessed Thanksgiving.
Moving on to item 3.2, Empty Homes Tax Resolution. We have Mr. Ross Isokane from the Empty Homes Tax Coalition, who is also part of Neighborhood Board 13, is a member of Neighborhood Board 13.
Hi there, mahalo Chair Lee, aloha community, board members. Hello, Neighborhood Assistant Camellia. My name is Ross Isokane for the record. I am a member of the Downtown Chandel Neighborhood Board, but I'm just here speaking as an individual. And yes, I am part of a grassroots coalition that is supporting the empty homes tax. We're really hoping it can help mitigate the affordable housing crisis that's harming so many of our Oahu residents. So the current bill in front of the City Council is Bill 46. And as a quick update, Bill 46 has made it through the process and is approaching the final reading and the final vote, possibly at the next council meeting. But there's definitely still a ton of opposition, so we're constantly trying to gather support. I'm sure many of you in this neighborhood are familiar with the empty homes tax concept. This is actually the third bill that's been introduced by Chair Tommy Waters in, I think, the last 5 years. But this one may be the first to finally get one last vote by the council. So, just really quickly, the concept is while there are many root causes in our affordable housing crisis, a key one is demand side drivers. And that's driven, we believe, by speculative investment. The theory is that housing units are bid up and purchased by wealthy investors, some of whom don't even reside on Oahu, and they leave those units vacant. Now, the obvious answer would be to target those out-of-state investors, but that likely would get struck down in the courts under the US Constitution. So Bill 46 in its current form will create a new residential property tax class. This is residential E. E stands for empty. And that will encourage owners who don't occupy their units to rent them out, hopefully on a long-term basis, to residents. Now, if the property owners would prefer to leave their residential property vacant, they are allowed to do so. It's a free country. But they may be subject to a higher property tax rate if they don't meet one of the many exemptions in the current bill. And ideally, any revenues that would be collected would go towards supplying more affordable housing. And just to be clear, this bill is really designed targeting those wealthy investors that own 3, 4, 5, and more extra properties. Hawaii residents with, just one additional property likely would get exempted based on what I'm reading, but that's just my understanding. So if you're concerned, you should read the draft bill and consult with your tax advisor. But there's a lot of nuances and details, so I'll wrap up there and see if there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Osakano. Could you tell us more about the resolution that has been circulated and approved by 2 boards at this time and how that may be connected to the upcoming city council meeting?
Yes. So one of the resolutions is from the Downtown Chinatown Neighborhood Board. We discussed this a few months ago, I believe. I was the introducer actually because I'm an advocate. I'm passionate. So having done the research, we drafted it up, got that approved by our board, circulated it to various chairs. The Makakilo Neighborhood Board number 34, Chair Makana Paris, I believe, he caught wind of it, was excited about the bill and put that in front of his board, and that passed. It's currently, I think Pearl City is actually hearing it tonight as well, and there are a couple other boards that are trying to get it scheduled.
Okay, thank you. And I know the board has had copies of the neighborhood board resolution from neighborhood board 13. And what was the
34, I believe.
34? Thank you. Questions from the board for Mr. Isokane. Secretary Davis.
Thank you. I was just wondering, again, for educating myself a little bit further, what are the biggest pushbacks you're hearing in terms of why people wouldn't or, why not implement an empty homes tax?
Great question. A lot of the opposition is coming from property owners who believe they would be subject to the tax. Those are the ones who don't just own their own residential property, but probably own multiple other properties as well. So we are getting, or what I'm seeing is a lot of testimony in opposition, most likely even possibly from people who own those properties on the mainland. Other people that we hear pushing back is just going under the very valid idea of just government overreach. They're saying, hey, my property, I can do what I want with it. And just to say, I believe that view has merit. Totally. It is a free country. We are a capitalist country. And when people buy property, they should be able to do what they want with it. But here in Hawaii, we're in a crisis. We all know this. We've been in a crisis for a long, long time. So during a crisis, we sometimes need to rethink about the way we want to govern. That's just my opinion. So, but great question. That's the main pushback we're getting. And I'll throw in as well, there are people who are concerned about the administration aspects of the bill. So even city administration is raising concerns about their ability to administer the bill. So there is opposition.
Questions from board members? Member Farinas.
Hi, Ross, and thank you so much for your advocacy on the empty homes tax. And you mentioned something that your words were likely local residents would be exempt. Can you expound upon that? Because I understand one of the concerns is, say a local resident who has more than one home, and by no means are they the super affluent that buys multiple properties as investment properties. But say this is someone who lives here part-time, works elsewhere part-time. So again, your statement was likely local residents would be exempt. So can you further delve into that?
Yeah, great question. And I apologize, I can't give perfect clarity. This amendment just came through in the last committee hearing, but based off of feedback that Chair Waters was getting from constituents, one exemption that was added to the bill is if you own a property and you also have a second property for which you have a homeowner's exemption, an owner occupant exemption, you would be grandfathered in, especially your second property would be grandfathered in. So looking at, I think one of the bills had 15 different exemptions or exceptions, a lot of them geared toward trying to effectively make sure there are no unintended consequences for Hawaii residents. But that exception for people who have an existing homeowners exemption is the one that I was referring to.
Member Mariano.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I have not seen the resolution since we're talking about it. Yep. But I have a couple of questions. So have in the resolution or in this bill that's being presented, have they really defined what you talk about owners or residential? Is it just single dwellings or is it owners of condominiums that have multiple condos? Because there's some issues and there's some potential conflict with particularly with condos owner. But clarification, is there a clarification for what we're considering as empty owners?
Yeah, it would be a residential unit. That's a great question. So condo units would be included as a unit. So if a condo unit was vacant under this bill and didn't meet one of the many exemptions, it could be subject to the tax. There are exemptions for additional dwelling units, ohana units, because the city council zoning, we were really trying to encourage ohana units from getting built to help with the affordable crowd housing crisis. So those would get exempted. But to answer your question, it's a very nuanced bill. There is definitions, and condo units would be subject potentially to the tax.
Yeah, because I think some of the condo owners, particularly the condo that I live in, there's owners that have multiple condos. And one of the things that they try to do is to have short-term rentals. And then there is a problem with short-term rentals in condos. So most condos now have a minimum amount of time that they have to live in so that it doesn't become like a hotel like in Waikiki. So I know that we can't solve everything with this resolution, but this is something to be considered, particularly because of owners, either be condo owners or single dwelling. And then can you clarify a little bit more on that and how this might be or the intent of how this is going to be enforced?
Yes, absolutely. Short-term rentals, it has been a sticky subject for a long time now. And I'm sure many of you on this board and the community are aware of the Judge Watson ruling. City Council tried to pass a bill that effectively tried to move the minimum short-term rental period down to, I believe it was outlawing 30-day rentals. Judge Watson, my understanding is, has ruled against that or put in an injunction. I don't want to get too wonky into the details. Effectively, this bill 46 is saying any permitted short-term rental under current ordinances. So any short-term rental that's in a resort zone, for example, would be exempted. However, any non-permitted short-term rental could be subject to this bill. So they're trying to they're trying to thread a needle here, and it's a complicated one, but that's my understanding so far.
Member Davis.
Yeah, I think I just want to add, I guess, a little bit of commentary and thoughts that I'm having about it. And I keep coming back to this idea of, what's being incentivized. when we're thinking about implementing these things. And, right now, without something like this, there is a big incentive for people to own multiple homes and, not necessarily rent them out or even, have income properties. And I'm trying to weigh that with, even my own situation and situations of neighbors and friends that are my age where, we're educated, we hold full-time jobs, and we are nowhere near being able to even afford the rent for a studio apartment. And, yes, I think that there's reason to weigh, how much are we incentivizing ownership of condos from people who don't live here with the ability to even have affordable units to rent for people that do live and work and are contributing members of society. And that's, again, kind of speaking from my own personal experience. When I was an educator, I wouldn't have even been able to afford the unit that I live in now as a full-time educator here. Not even close. And that's living in income assisted property. I still only qualified at 60% AMI. So there's a really big housing crisis here. And yes, I agree. There's going to be pushback against it. And it's not going to incentivize people to buy up as much property if they're going to be taxed a bit more. But that's also going to make more space available for the people that do live and work here at an affordable, reasonable rate. And, I think it's important for us to think about shifting the incentive back to the people that live and work here. And that's not currently happening. So, just my 2 cents in addition to that.
First Vice Chair Chi, and then Member Chang.
Cool. I'll keep this very quick. Thanks for coming by to present to us. I have 2 quick questions. The first one is what would the revenue from this be used for if that's highlighted or detailed in the bill? It'd be good to know what the breakdown of kind of where it would be going, whether it's general funds, specific funds for addressing homelessness. And then the second question that I have is that I noticed it said that for this resolution specifically, it encourages support for the original bill and the CD1 version. Are there any particular other versions out there? And is the CD1 version the current version of the bill? Just that way we know what we're getting into.
Great questions. With respect to the revenue dedication, that's been a point of contention. The advocates in our grassroots coalition, we want 100%, frankly, going to the Affordable Housing Fund and homelessness. But the city council has pushed back on that. Certain members are thinking about just for your information, the city council is weighing other bills that would cut real property taxes and provide more relief to Hawaii residents. So they're thinking about this bill funding the general fund is their concept. So in the current iteration of the bill, 20% of the revenues collected by this tax would go to affordable housing. That's what's earmarked. To answer your second question, yes, when Neighborhood Board 13 first wrote their resolution, there was only one original version of the bill. When Neighborhood Board 34 wrote theirs, I think it was CD1. As of last week, we are to committee draft number 2 is the current approved version of the bill.
Thank you, Secretary Davis. And then back to First Vice Chair Chi. Oh, sorry. Member Chang, apologies.
Yeah, I got a bone with this one. You're saying 20% of the revenues generated is what's going to go to affordable housing? Why not 90 or more going to affordable housing? I don't get it. Can you explain that?
Yeah, and in the coalition, the grassroots coalition, we are for affordable housing. We wanted 100% to go to affordable housing. The city council members have been the ones who have been hemming, hawing, wringing their hands. And look, I can't speak for the council members. Well, I'm sure you have representatives of the council here as well. But I'm hearing, based off of their public statements, that they're looking for a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah. Okay. I see we have Calvin here tonight. Can you explain that? Why only 20% as opposed to a much higher number? Because it sounds to me like this is a overreach by the government grabbing some money and not going to the desired goal.
Thank you very much for that question. At this point in time, there is a Supreme Court decision that was affected in San Francisco. It just came out. And the question was in regards to the earmarking of this particular fund. It's going to vary as far as what it's going to look like at the end of the day. My position has always been, in whatever tax you do, it just goes back into the general fund. The general fund takes care of all public services that we have throughout the county, from what we've talked about in the parks, to HFD, to HPD, to EMS. At some point in time, you just can't earmark because if you take the prerogative away from the elected officials who are elected, you see. So I would say to all of you, it's just in motion right now. And there are more than 2 committee drafts. There are proposals by a oral amendment also, which then makes the issue much more confusing. But I have to admit, I believe the sponsors of the measure are really trying to accommodate all of the local residents. And that's why, like he stated earlier, that the supplier, that we have 15 different exemptions. Haven't you watered it down with 15 different exemptions? But that was listening to the general public, who are the ones that testify. So I had 2. One was dealing with nursing homes on the lease. Until the lease expires, I can have the exemption. If not, I'm not renting, I'm leasing. It's a nursing home. These are the issues and topics that we're trying to figure it out. But we'll all find out for the board members by December 11th when we have the full council meeting, if the votes are there or not there. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Councilor.
you. Thank
I
you.
appreciate the explanation. Again, I know that in Hawaii, our property taxes nationally is still kind of low. Okay. And I know that a lot of people are struggling with taxes in general, but if they really want to solve this and they want to do more affordable housing, focus has to be, if that's where they want to do it. The primary way you're going to generate revenue is property taxes. I mean, that's it. I mean, you can only get so much out of usage fees, but property taxes is what brings home the bacon. So that's just my 2 cents.
Member Chang, you're correct. When I was budget chair 4 years ago, I had a measure that was to repeal all exemptions. Then with the savings that you get, you can lower real property tax, if that's what the general public wanted. But in my particular case, when I decided to say repeal, that money is going to be used for county service. That's the difference that you have to push and pull. Give back or public service. The council has that choice to make.
Thank you, Member Chang, for your questions. And Councilmember Say, Secretary Davis, and then First Vice Chair Chi.
Thank you, Councilmember Say, for sharing. I think, some questions I have just about the general fund. Again, I understand that sometimes the flexibility is necessary. And I think, 20% versus, earmarking for some things. And one of the things that I have questions about is, has education been considered in this too, rather than the general fund? Because we are one of the, again, only states that doesn't have a property tax that helps fund our public schools. And because of that, have one of the lowest achieving public schools in the nation. And I think, again, earmarking some money to make sure that services that are in desperate need of higher levels of funding are prioritized first. Again, what are we incentivizing, with the laws and the policies that we're passing? And my other question kind of comes back to what you mentioned about, again, this opposition. And, I think, we hear about opposition, and I've read some testimony, not particularly on this bill. I will go do that to educate myself further. But, even back when there were, rent control measures presented, and a lot of the opposition is coming from one particular party in general, our construction companies and or real estate, advocates, which I understand their perspective. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're getting a lot of testimony from the actual people. So my question is, what is the council's measure of how much, again, actual input from local residents you're receiving in order to make decisions on these bills, rather than just who's maybe speaking the loudest or most aggressively.
Ms. Davis, that's an excellent question. For those who were here 6 years ago, what measure did the council pass? I was not here on the new classification. There was a new classification required. Jenny, would you know? Residential A. Anything over $1 million, you pay a higher property tax. And that was the discussion we had with one of the testifiers. Instead of doing this new classification of empty home taxes, increase the residential A. Simple. Much more easier for enforcement. But Emma, there's a lot of other issues that we did try to address, and it's a very tough issue because nobody wants to take the hard position. For me, the low-hanging fruits were all of these exemptions that are presently on the books. You want to suspend it for 2-3 years, you generate so much money in 2 to 3 years. But always understand that your expenditure side of the council or the county will never be static. It's always going to increase tied to what we have in regards to, I'm supporting all of my county employees, which is every 2 years you have collective bargaining. And it's a given that will be used to pay for salaries, pension, and the health fund contribution. It's not that easy as how people perceive it to be. And that's why I've enjoyed it, because tonight, thank you very much in trying to educate you folks as far as what is going on. In the end, you'll probably find out if we have the votes or not in regards to Bill 46.
Thank you. First Vice Chair Chi.
Yeah, Dyson, come on.
Hey, Uncle Calvin. Thanks for being here.
welcome.
Appreciate you providing your input. I actually have a question for Ross on the Zoom. You alluded to a CD2 that's the current version of the bill. May I ask for like the Cliff Notes version of how the CD2 differs? And why in this resolution anyway, it doesn't call for supporting the CD2 version, but rather the CD1 and original bill specifically. Yeah, that would be quite helpful to know.
Great question. CD2 was just approved, I believe, last week. These resolutions were approved before that, where CD2 didn't exist. The main cliff notes is at the inception, the empty homes tax was designed as a supplemental tax, meaning any property owner who paid their residential tax, residential A tax, et cetera, would also pay a supplemental empty homes tax. There was a lot of discussion, and council members say can attest, there's been a lot of testimony heard, a lot of discussion amongst the council members, and they brainstormed that having a new residential class, that's residential E, as in empty, as opposed to a supplemental tax, was the best way to go. Now, that said, the resolution that that Neighborhood Board 13 effectively just said, we're just supporting passage of a concept to tax vacant properties. The devil in the details, we'll let the experts, the council member, the committees figure that out. So that's what the Neighborhood Board resolutions are trying to support. Just say, council members, you all are smart, you're getting good advice, figure this out, get something there. Revenue allocations are important, but let's, actually council member spoke passionately about this, I think, in one of the committees. He said, and sorry to quote you, council member, but this is in the video. He said, I think we're losing the main objective of this bill, which is trying to get homes into Hawaii residents, get Hawaii residents into these vacant homes. That's the main objective, and we're losing sight of that. So that's what the board resolutions are really saying. Whatever the outcome, let's just get this concept passed.
Member Mariano, and then we have State Representative Kim Coco Iwamoto, who has a comment or question online.
Yeah, thanks, Ross, for bringing this to our attention. So, Madam Chair, I kind of have a question because this is something that's kind of pressing. After glancing over the resolution, I think what he's asking is based on what Chinatown and Makiki has done for the resolution. The intent and the concept is to get the public support to push this thing forward. Obviously, we do not have time to prepare a resolution. And again, trying to get clarity for sunshine law, but since this is on the agenda, and if the intent from what we're hearing so far is just to push this thing forward so that the city council members can make informed decision by discussion in committees, we can still monitor the process, provide input, and then have, more public opinions that goes in there. So with that being said, if it's possible, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do this, so I'm going to ask Amelia, can we make a motion because we cannot write a resolution, but just to say that we would support the Waikiki Makiki Neighborhood Board with their intent for this empty home tax resolution, just to push it forward.
Yeah, so we can make amendments if you guys decide to consider this empty homes tax resolution from Ala Moana Neighborhood Board to support.
Point of order, it's not on the agenda.
It is. It's,
Presentation is, but as far as board business,
Order of the resolution. Oh, consideration, yeah.
Yes, for consideration. That's why I'm asking for the clarification on that.
I think, so. Member
Because one
Moana-
one of the things that I'm kind of passionate about, and again, hearing what the councilman has been saying, and this whole intent of the empty homes tax resolution is to get the owners, the empty nesters, or whatever you want to call them, not empty nesters, but to get them to pay more taxes. And then those more taxes are going to be used for housing or in the general fund and however the city council would do it. But to me, the incentive should be more of to the owners that, they'd be given a high tax. And then if they have more local residents renting, then they can have some modification or tax reduction. So say they have 50% tax. But if they have locals renting, now their taxes may be 30% or whatever. But that would be something that the city council and the committees would have to come up with. So if we're trying to get locals into these vacant properties, that would be something. So I think that's what the intent is. Is that correct, Ross?
Yes, thank you for that question. There's an exemption if you own a property that could be subject to this tax, but you rent it for at least 6 months to someone who considers Hawaii their primary residence, you are exempt from the tax. You will not pay a single dime more. So I apologize for not making that clear. But if the unit is occupied, you're not going to pay the higher tax.
Yeah, so one of the things that this board has been passionate about, particularly with new condos coming on board, that if they have affordable housing, that they would have it set aside for at least a minimum of 30 years. And so if that's something that we could do with this empty homes tax resolution, that would incentivize owners to getting more locals to be renting because they will have a reduced tax rate for 30 years. Versus minimum of 6 months, which is not much. Because if I'm a owner, I would rent for 6 months, get tax exempted and rent to someone else for 6 months and just keep turning that and raise the rent to make up the difference.
Thank you, Member Mariano. State Representative Kim Kakuyamoto.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to ask a clarifying question. Ross, you mentioned about, this is some of the people objecting to this empty homes tax saying, well, this is capitalism should control. And I didn't hear you speak about this, but when a family lives in one of these empty homes and instead it's a lived-in home, they are going out into the community and spending money. They pay GET and they may be spending enough at a business and the business can hire people, and then that individual be paying income tax. So both GET and income tax may partially go to counties and pay for the expenses that if, and so there is this kind of denial of our ability to collect the fair share, because in fact, all the county infrastructure is already in place for them to make a profit. If we didn't have the county infrastructure paid for, then these real estate investors wouldn't be able to, have anything to buy or sell. There wouldn't be a market for that. And something that I think a lot of people don't know or don't realize is that when the cost of running a city and county doesn't go down just because somebody keeps their unit empty. What happens is everyone else who lives here, who spends money here, we end up paying their share, right? We end up paying their share of tax contributions to keep the city and county running. And so that's something I didn't really hear you say, but it is something that does make sense from a kind of the capitalist, a response to somebody arguing that, oh, we should be able to do what we want. Well, not if you're keeping it empty and denying us, the city and county, the opportunity to collect revenue to pay for the services that we provide you as an investor in Hawaii.
And if I could respond, I would just say I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. There are so many reasons, I believe in my heart, to support this initiative, especially given the immensity of our housing crisis. We've been experiencing this housing crisis for, well, longer than I've been alive, I'm going to say. It's been so long and people are just suffering. So all those reasons you espouse and many, many more, I think are extremely valid. For the board, I know there's concern about what type of resolution you would pass. Neighborhood Board 13's resolution is about 4 pages long, and it has a lot of different reasons that we're kind of laying out as far as a rationale for supporting an empty homes tax and how that can incentivize owners of vacant property to allow residents to either reside in them, either renting or owning. So that's the long form. The Makakilo Neighborhood Board really did a very short resolution. So in my mind, if you wanted to consider a resolution, just throwing out a humble suggestion, you could make a motion. We want to adopt a resolution in the form of Makakilo Neighborhood Board's resolution, just replacing their board name with Moana-Kaka'ako board name. Just a thought.
Thank you, Mr. Rossi Sakani. So we'll delve into that further in our board business meeting. And I know when the coalition had approached us, I had forwarded that information both for the Makakilo board and the Chinatown board to the board members about a week ago. We can also put it up there. So, Member Mariano, I appreciate your comment as to, like, if we don't end up passing a resolution tonight, we can also, if the board would like to be stated as in support of this resolution. So thank you for that. So we'll
just say piggyback.
Thank you, Member Mariano. So I think we'll delve into the resolution further. Mr. Isokane, thank you for your presentation this evening and for educating us further and letting us know what your board has done. If you could stay until item 4.4 in the event that we have questions, that would be.
I'd be happy to. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Hey, thank you, board members, for that informative discussion, and to Councilmember Say as well for your feedback. Moving on to board business, we are looking at filling board vacancies. So this is going to be from now until we have elections next year. So I believe this term, if people are interested, will be up until March or April 2025. Is that correct?
June, and then the new board comes in.
So it'll be for a good amount of months. That being said, Sub-District 1, we have 2 vacancies. Do we have anyone that is interested in being part of our board? Please approach the mic, sir. Let us know your name and your sub-district.
Thank you. So my name is Dale Vanderbrink. I'm from Sub-District 1. I'm wishing to fill the vacancy in that. I can give a short description of myself. I was born and raised on the island. I lived in Wahiwa up until about 4 or 5 months ago, and then I moved to the downtown area. I've tried to be more involved in my community. Currently in the Democratic Party, I'm with the Stonewall Caucus, and previously I was with the District Council in 46 up in Wahiwa. I really just want to serve my community more, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm really bad at describing myself, but if you guys have any questions about me, I'm more than happy to answer.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Okay. We have a motion to nominate Mr. Dale Vanderbrink to the board. When would you write?
Hi, thanks for being here and thanks for your interest. Can I just please ask, what do you do for a living? And are you you're in the district because you said you're downtown. So are you in Kaka'ako or?
I'm in Subdistrict 1, so I live by Don Quixote up by Ala Moana area. And I actually work at Bank of Hawaii. That's my day job basically. But it's definitely more of a job, or basically more of a job than a career. I really am passionate about politics and my community and working to improve it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, board. So according to our neighborhood assistant, we can go ahead and nominate. So I nominate Mr. Dale Vanderbrink to our board. If we can take a roll call vote for that. Oh, it doesn't have to be a motion. It just has to be a nomination. Member Mariano.
Just for clarification, we're going to nominate him, but when we start to do the roll call vote, should we excuse him rather than having him be here as part of Robert rule? Okay, all right.
I think what we can do for now is go over the nominations, and if the board does vote the individuals in, we can swear them in, take a short recess, swear them in, and then get back into session. So we're going to go through the roll call vote.
Okay, so the board can say Vanderbrink. The nominee's last name is Vanderbrink. If you would like him to join the Ala Moana Neighborhood Board for Subdistrict 3's vacancy. Or sorry, one. Okay. Chang,
Yes.
or you can say his last name, Vanderbrink.
Vanderbrink.
Chi,
Vanderbrink.
Davis,
Vanderbrink.
Marinas,
Sir Vanderbrink.
Mariano, Rice,
And to bring
Behringer, absent, and Chair Lee.
Vanderbrink. Looks like we have a resounding 7 votes for Mr. Dale Vanderbrink. So thank you for your willingness to serve our.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome to take a seat since you're part of the board now.
Check his ID and swear him in.
So he has turned in his ID already. Mr. Vanderbrink has turned in the appropriate identification with him living in the neighborhood. So thank you for that. But if you could stay, if we have, we're going to go down to Subdistrict 3 if there are nominations.
Yes. Hear it. Got a smile?
yeah.
Yes, Ms. Chung, if you could come forward, reintroduce yourself to the board.
I'm Karen Chung. Probably a lot of you already know me. I live on Kamakea Street, across Kauai Hau. I actually ran for the board a while back, but I have 2 very young children, 3 and 5 years old. So it took a bit out of me, and a very ill mother. But this is my second try. I've been very active in the community since 2021, and it really first sparked off the movement with Jeannie over there. about the crosswalk by Kalawala Park. So if I can serve in the best of my ability. So here I am. Yeah.
Mr. Chung, welcome back. Ms. Chung, apologies. Welcome back to our neighborhood board meeting. And we do understand that you were elected the last time, so
Yeah.
we appreciate you coming back here and being willing to be nominated to be on our board. Questions from the board? Ms. Brenes.
Ms. Chung is being very humble as she is a Ward Village Mom founder, and she's been very, very instrumental in our neighborhood. So this is just another hat to wear.
Thank you. I just give a different perspective as a millennial mother, and then just to be very aware, but a lot of, motivation and inspiring from Jeannie and also Kim Coco to make the community better, more transparent, responsible, and accountability. But yeah.
Thank you. We'll go through the same process as we did with Mr. Vanderbrink, so we can get a nomination for Ms. Karen Chung. Member Davis nominates, and we'll go through the roll call voting.
Okay, so board members, if you can just state the nominee's last name, Chung.
She's in the right place. She's in the right place. She won more votes 3 years ago? 3 years ago? 2 years ago. And then for personal reasons, like she said, she stepped down. But
We heard you.
We heard you. Transparent. And I was elected, but I was not able to fulfill my position because my mom was dying from lung cancer and she eventually passed last year. So now I only have 2 little monsters to take care of. This is a bit easier. So here I am. If I can serve in the best of my ability, great. Yeah. Thank you. And thanks, Karen.
Okay, so we'll try this roll call again. To have Karen Chung nominee to join the Alamoana Neighborhood Board. And you can just say her last name. Chang,
Chung.
Chi,
Chung.
Davis,
Chung.
Farinas,
Lady Chung, please.
Mariano, Berenger, absent, Chair Lee.
Chung. And we have another unanimous.
Chung.
I apologize, Member Rice.
Apologies for that. Second Vice Chair Rice. We have another unanimous board decision. Welcome Ms. Karen Chung to our board.
Welcome aboard.
For a minute, I'm take a seat.
Real.
We're going to have to take a short, maybe 2 or 3 minute recess. So our neighborhood assistant, Camelia, may swear them in and they can join us here on the board.
Here's Nikki Felicia.
Okay, we are gaveling back from recess. New members, Dale Vanderbrink and Karen Chung have been sworn in. So if you could come up and join us so you can be part of the rest of the board business discussion that we have for this evening.
Sorry to leave you hanging back there, council members. Thank you, Ms. Karen Chung and Mr. Dale Vanderbrink for being part of our board as of this evening. Board Business 4.2, approval of the October 22nd, 2024 meeting minutes. Does anyone have any questions, comments, edits? Okay.
Move that they're approved.
Second.
Okay. Anyone oppose? Okay, it looks like the meeting minutes for October 24th are approved. Thank you, board. item 4.3, Action Committee Report with our Action Committee Chair, Ms. Emma Davis.
Hopefully a quick update, because our action committee for November was canceled, mostly due to some scheduling, but also because, we did, move to make sure that the pickleball, tennis, and community involvement and recreation in our parks, is being scheduled, for December. The date for that, can I say it? Yeah. December 16th. Monday, December 16th is the date that we will hold that meeting. We are working to publicize that to make sure that those interested parties have the appropriate time to make sure that they can attend or share their input. And again, wanting to collect more input on the action committee drafted resolution. I know that on the agenda today, we also have one that was submitted from one of our community members as a potential solution. But we are continuing to work towards that and want to honor our commitment to hold that discussion and make sure that all of the different voices are heard in finding a solution that represents all residents that want to be active in our parks. So working on that, we will have that meeting and also our regular December Action Committee meeting on the 12th, Thursday, December 12th. So regular December Action Committee meeting, Thursday, December 12th, and then special meeting specifically to talk about pickleball courts and tennis courts in the Moana-Kaka'ako area with attendance hopefully from the Department of Parks and Recreation. And that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
I think we're good. Thank you, Member Davis, for spearheading our action committee as well as coming up with possible solutions based on the feedback that you've gotten both from the community and your own research. Moving on to consideration of resolutions. We have the resolution supporting Bill 46, the empty homes tax resolution. Ms. Camelia, if you could pull up the resolution from District 13. Again, as I mentioned, Member Mariano had brought up a great point in the event that, we still want to educate ourselves more on this. And if the board still needs more time in crafting a resolution, especially with the full council meeting coming up on December 11th, we as a board can come to a consensus that we support it going through. So discussion? Vice Chair Chi.
Yeah, thank you for having this discussion. I think, especially as a young person, I think the intent of this bill is directed by and large towards my generation, because we are the ones who do have kind of the strongest uphill battle alongside elderly kupuna in terms of being able to actually get housing to live here. And I understand that this is not the silver bullet to solving this issue. There is no silver bullet. But I do sincerely believe that this is a kind of bill and resolution that is going to help us build towards having a solution and honestly to allowing people such as myself, my friends, to be able to live here. I can't tell you how many times I've had my friends who are of similar age to me, born and raised in Hawaii, be like, yep, Hawaii is where I'm going to come to retire. It's not where I'm going to be to live. And I have no choice. Can't be helped. And yeah, it's pretty depressing when people who you grow up with tell you that. And I think it's time that we do engage in some action. And this is one of the pieces of the puzzle to making it happen. So I am in strong support of our board supporting the resolution that our fellow neighborhood boards have passed. And as someone who wants to live in Hawaii and wants to be a part of this board, I encourage my fellow board members to support this as well. Thank you.
Thank you, First Vice Chair Chi. Any other board members? Member Farinas.
Thank you, Dyson, especially from a young person's point of view. And thank you, Chair Lee, for sending the information ahead of time. So I was able to really read and dissect the Chinatown Neighborhood Board's resolution, as well as the Makakilo resolution, which is a more encapsulated version. So quite frankly, as he suggested, if we just switch the names out, it's pretty straightforward. This resolution is so important, and it's a long time in coming. And yeah, I do support it. And as an individual, member of the board member, I would even go so far as to make a motion that we adopt.
Thank you, Member Farinas. We can go down the resolution so people have, Member Ching.
Yeah, the problem I have with this resolution, conceptually, I like the idea. I think the way they want to go about doing it is wrong. I'm more into, this is trying to solve two problems. One, getting people to rent out their empty units. Me personally, I think people should have freedom of choice. And if they want to keep it empty, that's fine. I don't think they should be penalized if they want to keep it empty. But the bigger issue is trying to find a way to fund affordable housing, which is speaking to what your concern is. And I don't think this is the way to do it. I think what I spoke with Councilman Say is, if we're going to do this, the way to do it is get everybody to pay for this. In other words, raise the property taxes, try and get more revenue in so they can build more affordable housing. This way here, they get 3%, and maybe 20% gets allocated. That's not going to be building new affordable housing. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be enough money to do it. It's got to be a more focused effort if we really want to solve and keep young people here. It has to be another way, because this is not going to generate enough funds. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Member Chang. Member Mariano, and then Member Farinas.
Yeah. I agree with what Randy Mr. Chang is saying, but there's two sides. We've looked at it here in Moana-Kaka'ako, and we've been fighting the only way you can go is up. So now we have a concrete of housing, affordable housing that's really not affordable. We know a given is we have some of these empty homes right now. And so I think the intent of what this resolution's, is trying to do. So I would kind of support, adopting one of these resolutions, changing the name, and then submit it going forward, so that the council can at least have, the constituents to be behind, and that's what we represent. Because here in Moana-Kaka'ako, we can't build any more high rises. We had one exception, became two, became three, and now we have a plethora of condos that's over 400 feet, 700, and now our infrastructure is going to start to be crumbling. So my point there is, we have some empty homes. Let's try and see what's the right thing to do. So I would support the resolution.
Thank you, Member Mariano. Secretary Davis.
I just want to kind of vocalize and share my support and also hear you out. I think there's a piece of it in raising the property tax, like in many other states, is likely a better, another solution in doing it. But I also think that this resolution is aimed at, again, taxing specifically people who don't live here and have empty homes, right? Knowing that there's an exemption for people that are residents here and maybe they have an empty home, right? And again, I come back to this idea of what are we incentivizing, or who are we really benefiting? And right now, not taxing these people benefits people who do not live here and own additional properties. And we're talking about people who do live here, can't even afford one. And not even just owning one, renting one. And I think that in and of itself, yes, there's pushback and it might not be the best solution, but it moves the needle towards supporting local residents being able to live and work here for a longer period of time. And I think it was maybe Kim Kokuyamoto who mentioned the statistic of how many young people are leaving the state because we cannot afford to live here. And that, when you look at its long-term impacts on just our workforce And, how that impacts the overall economy is also something that will eventually start to, make an impact not just to young people or the housing market, but to the state as a whole. So, I strongly support that this is, again, movement in the right direction of focusing on people who live and work here and benefiting them first before we benefit people who are outside investors.
Thank you. Second Vice Chair Rice.
Thank you. Rodney, I hear you and some of your thinking I agree with. I have 3 sons who cannot afford to live here, and they're all in two are almost 40 and one is almost 35. And they all have great jobs and they all do well, but they just can't afford to purchase a home here, which is when I was their age, I was able to back in the, what back then. And way back then. But one of the things to comment your concern is that if we raise the property taxes, what happens to the kapuna who are on fixed incomes? They're not going to be able to afford it. And where do they go if they can't stay here anymore? And then I believe that if you're an owner of a property, whether it's a condo, a home, whatever, and you're not living in it and you don't live in Hawaii, so you're from a foreign country or from the mainland, you should pay more in property taxes for the privilege of owning here. If you're an owner of a property and you live in Hawaii and you rent it out, there should be some way that it's very hard to restrict people and tell people, well, you have to rent it out as an affordable unit. And this is the price point. But maybe that's what we need to do in order to make units affordable for everybody. To Emma's point, we are losing our youth. This happened back in the 80s and now it's happening again. And where are our employees going to come from if they can't live here? There isn't going to be anybody left except old people, and that's it. Who's going to take care of the old people? Who's going to work in the supermarkets? Who's going to work in the hotels? Who's going to work? There's not going to be anybody here. So we need to come to a point where we have to do something. So I do support this effort and hope that the city council can come to some sort of a resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Second Vice Chair Rice. Member Farinas.
Councilman Say, thank you for being here in person. We so appreciate when you're here in person, and thus I'm going to ask a question of you. My understanding, the council has approved the RFP, a request for proposal for a budget to hire a consultant to say if this bill passes to administer and consult on the bill. With all of our concerns brought here tonight, could you help allay our concerns and fears that the kupuna, the local resident who, it's a second home because they have, kids that they're planning in the future and what have you, as opposed to those investors. So again, if there is a consultant already, because I understand that.
There is a consultant at this point in time. And I can say that they'll get the study done by January or February of 2025. Some members thought that we should just delay it till that study is completed. But there are those in the council who want to push it now. They're setting up the framework of what this real property vacant home tax would look like with all these exemptions. From there, the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services will look at it. But as far as what people have said about how much it's going to generate in taxes, no one. But we're waiting for the consultant. That was the position of the administration. Wait until the study is done. Then I can't recall the name of the contractor. Ernst & Young. Okay? So that's going to be completed by January, February of next year. So do the council members want to wait till January, February of next year when the study is completed? Or do they want to do it now? And I think some of the members want to do it now.
Second Vice Chair Rice.
Thank you, Councilman Say. If they vote the bill through now, what's the purpose of having a consultant? I mean, are they going to possibly change their mind once report comes through?
The bill is in a fluid, flexible state. You can always amend it in the out years. But you have now a measure that is before everyone. And from that point of view, when the budget and fiscal services is, we need to hire 10 people for the division of empty homes taxes. That's their request. I've always said to the constituency and the voters of the district, my concern has always been, hey, it's easy to pass legislation, ordinance. What's the difficult task? It's enforcement and implementation. You know, I hear it all the time. We pass measures in regards to HPD. Go and get that guy that's on his cell phone, right? Driving. Hey, go and get that guy that's on the sidewalk with the moped. Sometimes it's so difficult that we're just mandating more and more and trying to, for me personally, control human behavior. It should be the responsibility of that individual to be responsible and respect for our community as a whole. And that's the approach I try to take. But from another point of view, I think this particular measure is great. Why? It is not for Calvin's sake. It's probably going to be for Karen's kids, the 2-year-old and the 5-year-old. You folks have the expectation that everything is going to get done within a year to 2 years. No way. No way. So if you can look at it from that point of view as a generation, because this particular measure reminds me of when I was elected in the 70s, and that was the prepaid health. All the businesses were opposed to it. And we were the first state to have prepaid health for all employees, which you folks should all be proud of as a Democrat. So that's how I'm looking at it, not for Calvin's sake, but for the future generations who will be given the opportunity of living here. How many of you met the person that was telling us about affordable housing last month or 2 months ago? Mr. Lee? You see? He was talking about affordable housing, why it is so expensive. And I swear, I have always said to my colleagues across the street from Punchbowl, Coco, Sharon, it's your responsibility in the area of homeowners insurance. Our new board member, the banking industry in regards to interest rates, our trade union in regards to higher costs in labor. It just adds on for the general public at large. And finally, this is just me. Corporate Hawaii, I think we should pay our kids more when you look at what the kids on the mainland are making compared to what we are making. Let's call a spade a spade. But we are at a critical point in the state as far as where you would like to see this state move forward to. So in closing, I hope I answered your questions. And I'm just, like I was telling Karen came to see me, I'm just one of 9 council members. So at least I had one vote in sharing my thoughts with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Say. Secretary Davis, and then Mr. Rossi Sakane had his hand online.
This is the last thing I'll say about this. But I want to appreciate your comment on, it's easy to pass legislation, but actually upholding it is the challenge. One of the first things you learn as a teacher is that you can make a lot of rules, but actually, following through on them becomes the difficult part. And I have lived the smaller version of that in the classroom and know that that's true. And the other thing I want to say is, again, us supporting the implementation of an empty homes tax is what we're, I think trying to vote on here today. It's not all of the details. It's, do we encourage and support the council to move forward with, determining how that plays out and how it's going to be managed, even with, the input of a consultant, which can happen further down the line. So I think what we're really trying to do is, do we support them implementing that so that they know, our neighborhood is in support of moving in that direction to support, local Hawaii residents. So, before we get too far into the details, I think
Kathy,
bring it back.
May I be able to leave? But before I leave, I just wanted to say this. There's another area where nobody's wanting to discuss it, which is with the state legislature. And that particular area is a landlord-tenant code. The landlord-tenant code. The private owner who doesn't want to rent it out to a particular individual or family is at a disadvantage with the way the law is structured. We're not protecting the landlord if the unit is damaged or destroyed. So that's the discussion we also need from the state side, not just real property tax, but the state side also. So thank you very much for the privilege and the opportunity. I'm going to go on home now, but I hope you guys got a lot done this evening. Aloha.
Thank you, Councilmember Say. Thank you, Board. So what we can do is pull up Neighborhood Board 13's resolution. Member Farinas, I know you mentioned you'd be willing to make a motion, but I want to make sure that the board is comfortable if we are to make a motion and ensuring that we know what the contents are of what Neighborhood Board 13 is passing. And then if we are to pass a resolution, we could alter it so it is customized to our board. If we can scroll down real quick, just to see the ones that, okay. Yeah, sort of. Yeah. So we can kind of glance at it. Okay, so stop at the be it resolved real quick, just so we can go over it. So we would just be altering anything that says NB 13 to reflect it to say Neighborhood Board 11. Okay, so if the board is comfortable making a motion for a resolution from Neighborhood Board 11 crafted using Neighborhood Board 13's resolution, feel free to make a motion. Yes, thank you, Member Mariano. Let's pull up the Makakilo one as well. There you go. So Kalia is scrolling through it slowly so people can glance at what the resolution for. Kalia, could you move back up to the first resolved? So for our board, we could either do a motion to craft our resolution based on the Makakilo resolution or the downtown Chinatown resolution. Member Mariano, microphone.
I would look at the Makakilo resolution and just also based on what Councilman Say mentioned about the the landlord portion. Maybe just put a line in there just as also to explore, protections for landlords if they partake in this. Or maybe that will come out of committee, but to make this simple, adopt the Makakilo one because they support, as they showed here, Neighborhood Board 13, which is Chinatown. So be short, sweet.
There, Member Chang.
I think what council members said was the landowner tenant code. Is that what he said? Yeah, so maybe add that in. And you get likely a little bit more support on this.
Thank you. First Vice Chair Chi and then Secretary Davis.
I'll motion for us, the Neighborhood Board 11, to support the resolution that was passed by the Makakilo Neighborhood Board number 34, with the amendments that we renamed the board number to be Neighborhood Board number 11, Moana-Kaka'ako, and to include, sorry, I'm not going to get the verbiage for this right, but to include relevant details about the landlord and tenant code.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by first Vice Chair Chi, seconded by Secretary Davis. Discussion before we vote. Secretary Davis.
The only thing I want to add is just the statement to say to review the landlord tenant code in as a part of their overarching bill, because I don't know enough about it to support one side or another or a certain stance on what that tenant code should be. But I do think that it should be considered in their overarching plan of how they're going to implement the actual, again, carrying out of the bill. So again, just reviewing it and considering if it needed any changes, but I haven't looked at it enough to vote with that saying any more than that.
Okay. I can tell you as a former landlord, that landlord code protects the landlord, particularly if there's any damage or scrupulous type of activities and all that. So it affords that opportunity. So there's a recourse if there's need.
Yeah,
I'm not against it. I'm just saying review or support, the landlord tenant code in support of it.
yeah, as a former landlord, I agree with what he's saying. It's the laws are written so that all the advantage is on the tenant. So that's the reason why this forcing a landlord to rent out their unit, I think is a bad idea. I mean, because of if you have that experience as being a landlord, it leaves a really bad taste in your mouth, and you're kind of gun shy because you rent out your nice unit, they get through with it, they trash it, and then they stay. And then it takes you a year or so to get rid of them. So the rules are written in favor of the tenant. And so I think, penalizing a landlord 3% and then, forcing their hand to rent it out when they're going through a bad situation. I'm not in favor of that. But as far as this measure is concerned, if there's consideration to review the landlord tenant code, and then we're supporting that's in consideration of, then I think that's something I can support.
Thank you. So going back to First Vice Chair Chi's motion, which includes the amendments that have been brought forth by members Chang and Mariano, and seconded by Ms. Davis. Any objections?
Just for clarification, so we're saying that we want to support the landlord.
Review and consider any necessary revisions to the landlord tenant code in order to make full, right, the implementation of whatever plan they decide. Sorry, I didn't speak into a microphone. Is that review and consideration of any revisions necessary would be the statement that's included?
Okay, so we can vote on the motion, yes? Okay, we'll make this quick. Any objections? Anyone abstain? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, board, for that discussion. And I'm glad that we did this so we can be part of the movement that supports this when council discusses it in December. Moving on to the resolution regarding dedicated pickleball courts. Ms. Camelia, could you pull up the resolution that Roy Howard? So the board has been very familiar with Mr. Howard, who has come in here multiple times. He's not here this evening, but we did let him, he is aware that the resolution that he proposed for regarding the pickleball courts is going to be presented. Secretary Emma Davis has been crafting a resolution as well on behalf of the board, keeping in mind Mr. Roy Howard's resolution, as well as feedback that we got from our meeting with all the both proponents of people who play pickleball and tennis. As she had mentioned, at this time, we are going to have a special meeting on December 16th, which involves the Department of Parks and Recreation. So Director Laura Thielen has been very amenable to coming into the meeting and including some of her staff as well. I know our board has always been fair, and before we pass any resolutions, we like to get all sides. So this is to acknowledge Mr. Roy Howard's contribution. But I don't think we're ready to vote on this resolution just because there is a special meeting. That being said, discussion from the board. First Vice Chair Chi and then second Vice Chair Rice.
I agree with the chair's recommendation. We can discuss this more at the action committee or 6 special meeting. Thank you for the clarification. Special meeting. Yeah, I think that will be a helpful conversation that we can have, and then we can move forward from there. And I'm also looking forward to seeing the resolution that Committee Chair Davis provides. Thanks for your hard work on it.
Thank you. First Vice Chair Chi, second Vice Chair Rice.
Member Chi stole all of my words. So that's it for me. I agree.
Secretary Davis.
If anyone, I'm just curious, because we haven't been able to talk about it as a board, and if there are any, questions that you have about this or, questions pertaining to kind of the development of the resolution I've been working on. I know I'll present it, but, this is a good chance too, if there are any kind of considerations or things that you guys have heard or have questions about that should be taken into consideration as I finalize that draft and or, before it's presented. I would definitely like to hear it. That's for sure. Because it has a lot of different intricacies. I've been thinking about it in a lot of different ways, both infrastructure, cost, noise, long-term growth of the sport, youth development. So any questions that you guys have, I'm happy to at least share what I've learned.
Thank you, Secretary. First Vice Chair, or second Vice Chair Rice, did you have a question? No. Okay. Member Farinas.
Yeah, Mr. Howard's not here, so I'm curious, maybe you could share with me in your conversation with him. Does he have any comments or feelings about the courts that were implemented at the convention center? I mean, is he thrilled about that?
I can't speak to that directly because we haven't had direct conversations about that. I know that they were implemented and there was a large event that was held, and there's a very large, that was contained in one of his communications with us, is that there is a lot of participation in the sport in the community and in the neighborhood. And I think that does support the need to address it and develop, access to playing pickleball a bit more. It's more about where does that happen, Personally, I will share that I don't think a long-term shared space solution is going to be very fruitful. And the growth of pickleball is going to blow past even the current recommendations in this resolution. Pickleball has had its largest year of growth in this past year nationally, growing 83% just in this year alone, meaning it hasn't even reached its plateau of growth. So even just addressing our current needs is likely to end up putting us back in the same scenario within a year or two and then having to develop further. So I think it's trying to figure out what's the long-term, the longer term plan that supports, again, both community development, but opportunities for youth development, which I think will follow close behind. From friends that I know are still teachers, there has been some talks within the OIA of making it a high school sport. I don't know if that's going to happen soon, meaning within the year, but I can almost guarantee that within the next 5 to 10 years, it's definitely going to be something that we start considering.
Member Chang and then Member Farinas.
Thanks for the explanation. That's kind of was on my mind. Was there any conversation from the various groups about a public-private type of venture where, they work with the public to get the space, and then they work with a private venture to build the facility. So has there been any conversations along that line?
Not any conversations within, again, the few conversations we've been able to hold so far. A lot of it has just been input on strong opinions in one side, from one side or the other. We've started having conversations again with both parks. I think talking to HCDA, especially if we're talking about developing within our area, is something that I want to look at and consider. I think based on budgeting, it's probably going to take a joint combination of both public contribution of land. But, I know that some of the professional pickleballs that live and represent our state have mentioned that there's interest from USA Pickleball to hold professional tournaments. And, I think we need to look into some grants that are supported by national parks to support the development of recreation within our parks as well. So I've researched a little bit of that. There is one that I would propose that we submit to, or that park submits to. But I think it's going to be, a large scale project and a long-term project. I do support a shared space solution until that project would be completed. Because there is interest in the community. And I think, creating just a private access to pickleball, doesn't help those that are wanting to recreate and participate in the sport within our neighborhood. And I think that there's significant interest in that and a reason for us to move in that direction.
Thank you, Member Chang, for that question, and Secretary Davis. Member Chang, so we do have that meeting, and we'll bring this up as well. Member Frenas.
Sorry, just a quick comment. I think we here as neighborhood board members are in such a unique position. And what I'm getting at is whenever the developers come to us and present their plans, and I love Member Chang's automated response. Is it dog friendly? So maybe perhaps the next automated response is, are you folks going to incorporate some kind of pickleball facilities for your future residents and for the bettering the neighborhood and so forth and so on? So, they come to us asking us for exemptions. So, give a little more to us as well for our neighborhood, for our community. This is.
I'll add it to my usual repertoire.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, board. There are no further comments or discussion. Let's move on to item 4.5, attendance at other meetings. Do any board members want to share anything from other meetings that they have attended? Okay. 4.6, board members' gratitude statements. I was reminded by Member Chang years ago about this because he has been on the board longer than I have. And I think it's a great tradition. We go around and each board member states what they are thankful for in light of the holiday season. So I'll go down the way, starting with Treasurer Mariano.
Wait.
You're lost for words? Shocking. Shocking.
Member Chang.
All right, for this Thanksgiving season, I do have some people that I would like to thank. Of course, our first responders, HPD, as far as the firefighters also concerned, and our med techs. But there's some people that I also want to let them know that I'm grateful and thankful for them. One is Emma Davis for stepping up and doing this action committee. I think she's doing just an admirable job. So I do want to thank you and let you know I appreciate everything you're doing. And in the public sector, I want to thank Ben. Ben has been really, really helpful. And being the mayor's representative, I think you've done an amazing job. And thank you very much for all your input that you getting back to us on all these minute details that we give you every month. And lastly, I want to thank the board. You guys have been just amazing. It's been a pleasure to work with you. It may be my last year, but I'll definitely reconsider. And then to the public, however you celebrate your holidays this year, I hope your home is filled with happiness, joy, and peace. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Member Chang. Second Vice Chair Jeannie Rice.
For me, it's been a real honor to be a part of this board and a part of this community, and to be allowed to be vocal and voice my feelings, good, bad, or indifferent. I know sometimes I get huffy, and I appreciate the fact that everybody here listens to me, whether you like it or not. But the community in particular is just so precious to me. And the fact that when I walk around the community, which I do every single day for a few hours, people come up to me and they thank me and they thank the board for everything that we do. And I'm just grateful to be a part of it all. And I'm grateful to everybody at the state and the city and the county level for their hard work. Sometimes we agree and sometimes we don't, but we're all working to better the place that we love, and that's Hawaii and Oahu and Moana-Kaka'ako. So it's very special. And I too wish everybody a wonderful holiday season. Be happy, be healthy, and step up and do something for your community. We're just everyday people, and we need more everyday people to come and join the effort to make Hawaii better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Jeannie Rice. New member Karen Chung.
Especially thankful for, this platform. I mean, especially for all the moms in the community who have been very supportive for everything that we're trying to improve. And just everyone who have the time and the courage to actually wants to make change and lasting change that is meaningful for the community. So for everyone who is willing to stand up, talk, and express it in a constructive way, thank you. And for this platform, and reminds of that, democracy works, the system works. We just have to, remember that. The power is with the people. We have to remember that. So change is from the people.
Thank you, member Chai. Member Lori Farinas.
Always so grateful for so many things, but let me highlight three things. Definitely to the angels and the guardians who walk amongst us, our first responders, our educators, our young people who hold us to task, and to all of the nurses, hotel workers, and custodians who just keeps us all in order. Secondly, I am so grateful to my neighbors. I love my neighbors, and I'm so honored when they feel comfortable enough to come and approach me, and that I'm so grateful that I do have this role on the Neighborhood Board 11, that I can vocalize their concerns in my sub-district 4. So thank you to my neighbors. And lastly, really mahalo, mahalo, mahalo to everyone in District 25, because I'm so happy and so proud that one of our own has been elected to represent us at the state capitol. So as to add on a little with what Ms. Chung said, that, representation of democracy does work. So, and in closing, as we close this new year, I'm looking forward to closing this old year and looking forward to the new year. As I've said last year, I wish you peace in your hearts, peace within your families, and peace within our respective communities.
Thank you. First Vice Chair Chi.
Everyone's really said it here. There's quite a lot to be thankful for. On top of what everyone's shared, I'm very thankful for all of our community members who consistently show up to meetings, whether it's in person, online, because it's not always easy to remember to take, 3 hours. Sorry if we do go 3 hours, we're not supposed to, but oops. But yeah, to take a few hours, out of a later day, probably after work for many of you, including those of you who are on the clock right now. And to join this community, to be a part of this dialogue, and to help build the kind of future that we want to see tomorrow. It's not easy to do, but that's the perks of being in a democracy, is that we get this responsibility. It's a power, and it's also a privilege that we all get to enjoy. And I also do really want to thank all of our fellow board members. I turn to each of you for different things. I mean, I turn to you for, I think, wisdom, for reason, for, giving me the look. Yeah, for honesty, compassion, I think energy, really, dedication, leadership, and to both of our new members, newfound commitments, and then also to Camellia for keeping us running, really being the glue that holds this operation together. So I have a lot to be grateful for. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, First Vice Chair Chi.
The only thing
Secretary Emma Davis.
I'm not grateful for is to go so last because you all stole my things. No, I do have a couple things. First, again, the honor and the privilege is not lost on me, and I'm so thankful for everything I've learned in this year and a half. You know, this was something I stepped into after leaving the classroom and looking to support my community. And wow, have I learned about the complexities of governance and how challenging and the dedicated people that really put their heart and soul into making, you know, our communities a better place to live, work, and thrive. And then I also want to thank the board, you know, stepping into the action chair committee. And I think I've had conversations with Kathleen about imposter syndrome and, you know, who am I to be drafting and coming up with ideas? And I'm just really thankful that you guys have all given me the space to learn and work through those challenges. And it's given me such an immense amount of personal growth. And I'm very thankful for that. I'm emotional always. I'm thankful for my emotions. And I'm thankful to the community. You know, I think Member Chung said it best. You know, democracy really is a ground up system. You know, it depends on the input of our community members and you informing us about, you know, the things that will improve your lives and us being able to take that and push it forward and elevate it to the next level. And I take that seriously and our community in such meaningful ways that often go unnoticed. But, you know, making the personal sacrifices to support people. And I, just value and honor that.
Thank you, Secretary Emma Davis. New member, Mr. Dale Vanderbrink.
Thank you. So, I mean, I'm so very thankful first off, for the rest of the board for allowing me to serve for the remainder of the vacancy here. This is definitely the first neighborhood board I've been on, and I'm so grateful to really learn so much about how the process works. And I'm so incredibly thankful for the community. I moved to the downtown area over the summer, and it's been such warm and welcoming community. I've made so many new friends, and I hope to stay here for many, many years to come in the downtown area. Really, everything everyone else has really said what they've been thankful for, and I don't really want to repeat everything, but I am just so thankful to be here.
Thank you. And back to Member Mariano.
Start the clock now. No, I really thank the board, you know, echo what everyone said. But, you know, this was a test, a trial done many, many years ago by Mayor Frank Fossey. And so, you know, we can't forget the past. And what his vision was to have the community to get involved in the process and be heard. Because all these elected officials, we elect them, they tell you things during the election timeframe, but once they get elected, there's gatekeepers before you can get to them. But here at the neighborhood board is really the grassroots for us to go ahead and voice our concerns. And like the homeless individuals, there was a Kaka'ako Park, finding them a place to go and working it. And that started the grassroots aspect of things that we're doing. So our neighborhood board has done such great things. And with Madam Chair Kathleen Lee leading the helm, the quiet professional that makes things happen. And also Dyson Chi, the vice chair. And also Jenny Rice, the second vice chair, keeps us on our toes, and everyone else. So again, thanking also the U.S. Armed Forces, our great state of Hawaii, and also the United States of America, because this is a democracy. It is a test. And as we move forward, thank you very much and happy holidays.
Thank you, Mayor Mariano. And I'll wrap this up. Everyone's already said everything that I wanted to say, which is to thank the community as well as our government workers, as well as the different organizations and stakeholders that come in to our meeting. But most importantly, I do want to thank the board for the opportunity to serve alongside you. It has been a roller coaster of an experience. Again, we have people coming in, and I have to consistently remind you folks that what we do is voluntary, which means that you genuinely want to be here. and I am absolutely humbled to be here with you folks. This is hands down the most powerful board that I have ever been on. And again, it's the way we move things as efficiently as a board, regardless of our different opinions or different sentiments on things, is just amazing. And I want you all to remember that. And a great reminder is to check out other boards and see how they run it. And give yourselves a lot of credit because our board has been extremely instrumental in listening to our neighbors, each other, and passing that on to the people that are able to make policy. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. That was very touching. Okay, moving on. Sub-district reports. Does anyone have any sub-district reports?
The tree is coming out. They actually, the stump, they tagged it. It's got the one call on there. It's got the paint right around the tree. So my 3 years of work is done. Now we just got to wait for it to come out, but I can retire. My work is done.
Step on.
Thank you, Member Chang. I know this has been one of your causes, so thank you for that update. Ms. Jeannie Rice.
I don't even know what's my sub-district, three. The crosswalk that Karen and I so passionately pushed for, the beacons are been up now for what, 3-4 weeks? And it does feel a lot safer, except if I wish people would not speed. But it's very exciting to see that. And I hope I don't steal HCDA's thunder, but the playground that's being replaced at Kolawalo Park the fence is coming down tomorrow and it will be open for Thanksgiving. So all the families and the kids, it's really going to be, and please, there'll be a grand opening and a blessing in early February when the dog park is completed. So we're going to do it together, but please come down and see it. It's so colorful. And I know the kids are going to be thrilled, and I know the parents are going to be thrilled, and the park's just going to be busier than ever because people come from all over to this little teeny weeny park, and it's really cool. And they bring a lot of wonderful vibe to the neighborhood. So I'm very excited and happy, and I'm just keeping everything going and pushing. So, and I know that Karen's on the board now, she'll help me. So I'm excited for that. On to the next project, whatever that may be.
Thank you. Second Vice Chair Rice. Anyone else? Sub-district reports. Okay, the time is now 8:11. Let's move on. Resident and community concerns. Do we have concerns or anything that the committee wants to bring up? Okay, moving on. Agency reports. HCDA Francine Murray emailed and stated that she is not going to be here this evening. Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation. I believe we have a new representative. You could come up to the mic.
Yeah. Oh, Chair Kathleen Lee. I just wanted to introduce Maribel. So good evening, Chair, board members, and community members. Marissa Gonzalez here with Heart's Public Involvement Team. So we're introducing Maribel Pablon, who recently joined us and is actually there right now in person. She worked on the airport segment of the project and will help and attend the neighborhood board up and provide updates for Heart. So we're very happy to have her on the Heart team. And we also have Patrick Watson online for support. Happy holidays and thank you. Too much caffeine today. Thanks, Maribel.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for that toss back, Marissa, and thank you for that introduction. So Chairman Lee and neighborhood board members. I just wanted to provide a couple of updates for you all regarding ongoing work and utility relocation. So we're still continuing with our utility relocation work here downtown. It's essential for the columns and guideways and stations construction coming up. So downtown utility relocation, as Marissa had mentioned, FVCC Representative Patrick Watson is here if you have any questions for him. but we are on track to be completed for the first quarter of 2025 there. And then as far as the city center guideway and stations is concerned, so first things first, we got to prioritize those utility relocations. I'll provide an update early next year as far as what's going to happen in there and how it impacts the neighborhood board. Any questions?
Thank you. Board, questions? Member Rice.
Hi, welcome. Are you talking about the work that's being done on Nimitz right in front of Aloha Tower? Is that the utility relocation?
Yes, that's
that
the
you-
utility relocation.
Thank you.
Member Mariano.
Yeah, welcome on board. Just thoughts as you folks continue to move forward and make progress. To go back where the work has already been completed and take a look at the roads, because some of the roads are still kind of rough. And, you know, with the whole new construction, my understanding is that those roads will be repaired. So I know that the Dillingham is really busted up. I know it's not my district, but as a citizen driving out in that area quite a bit, it puts a lot of wear and tear on the vehicle. So as we go forward, take a look at road work, but also things that's already been done in the Eva Beach area. Take a look at that, please.
No,
Thank you, Member Mariano. Any other board members? Okay. Thank you for being here this evening.
Yep, thank you so much. That concludes my report. And if you have any questions, you can reach me at 808-566-2299. Thank you all.
Thank you. Honolulu Board of Water Supply. I think they're here this evening. Moving on to elected official reports. Councilmember Tyler DeSantos Tam. I believe Robin Hensky was here earlier, but she had to leave. But she did have the council members newsletter online. It's in our shared drive. Councilmember Shea, as you all saw, was here this evening. I don't see Pua online either, but we thank council member for his service and for, oh.
Hi, Chair. This is Janelle, and we have Ashley on from
Hi,
Councilmember
Janelle.
Stay's office. If anybody has any questions, we're here to take them.
Thank you. Questions? No questions from the board. Janelle, thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Our favorite representative from the mayor's office, Mr. Ben Sullivan.
Ben Sullivan, Chief Resilience Officer for the city, and here representing the mayor for our neighborhood board 11. Happy to be here. There's copies of the mayor's November newsletter on the table, some teasers for you. You all got the update from Michael Keefe last month, so I won't go into that. That's one of the things in the newsletter, just talking about what's going on with wastewater and all the great work they're doing and the implications in terms of the need to raise more money. Recapping Pride Month in Honolulu and the mayor leading the Pride Parade on October 19th. It was a wonderful event. I don't know how many of you were there, but really the energy in Waikiki was just so positive and so tremendous. I can't say enough about that event. I got to ride a bicycle in it because you all know my leg's a little bit bad. So I had a great time myself, but that was really, really a great event. A couple other things in there. I'm not going to go into all of them because you can grab a newsletter if you'd like, but one was an important update that our office provided with the Department of Planning and Permitting on the FEMA maps that are being updated around the island. So if folks have questions about that, please reach out to me. But basically the federal government is updating their analysis of flood risk areas around the island. And we're helping by providing that information to community. And we had several meetings last month that were there to really give people an opportunity to learn more. There's plenty more available information online. Again, grab the newsletter if you want to know more. I will skip over to the two items I have on my list for follow-ups. And Member Chang, I'm just going to say it's actually really NCO that makes me look good because they give all the answers and then I just read them off. So I have kind of a cush job in this regard. They always get up the information. So on the pickleball front, some of you may have heard, but I was recently in correspondence with Director Thielen from DPR, and one of the progress reports I have with regards to pickleball is I'm getting it wrong. Kamamalu Park, which is across from Pacific Club. is going to be the home of 4 to 5 new courts, and it'll take a while to get there, but that is already in progress. And so I think there's some kind of swapping going on with parking lot and pickleball and things like that. And so in a few years, you'll have new courts there. That's exciting. It sounds like you're already working with Director Thielen on a meeting to talk about Ala Moana Beach Park, which is awesome. And so those are positive things in the works. We did also get an update from both HPD and DPR on enforcement of the no dogs allowed at Ala Moana. That was the other note we had from last month. So DPR does not do enforcement, but they just kind of did remind folks, and they wanted to remind you that there is, I think, 20 signs inside the park and 8 at entrances to the park that say no dogs allowed. So they feel like it's really well signed in terms of an indication. And then HPD did do another loop through, and they mentioned a citation that they provided. They caught somebody, the poor individual, I guess, was unaware of the 28 signs and was walking their dog and was given a citation. That was sometime between November 4 and 17. So paying attention to the issues, happy to answer any questions, especially if they're about climate, because that's what I do on a daily basis, but happy to talk about the other issues that the board deals with as well.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Questions, board? Okay, thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you. Aloha.
Senator Sharon Moriwaki or Charles Ismoto from her office? Okay. We do have to update our agenda here. We have a new representative, Ikaika Olds, online, if he'd like to say a few words. Okay. Representative Ikaika Olds, let us know if you'd like to say a few words. I know you just got newly elected. If not, we can move on. Okay, let's move on. Representative Adrian Tam could not be here this evening. He mentioned his staff was traveling as well, but he thanks the board for trusting him in his office. House Speaker Scott Saiki or his representative, I don't see anyone online. Governor Green's representative, we have Ashton Stallings, and I believe you have a guest with you this evening.
Yes, I do. Hi, everyone. Ashton Stallings. I'm with the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs, but I serve as your governor's representative. So I'm going to give a brief overview of the newsletter. I did put the link into the chat, but the exciting news is that from the Hawaii Tourism Authority, we have Ilahia online to answer the request for additional information after the governor's trip to Japan aimed at strengthening ties between Japan and Hawaii. I believe it was Member Rice. So after I review the newsletter, I'm going to pass it off to the expert. But I do also have a little DCCA plug. We have the Hawaii Life Smarts program. So if you guys know any 6th to 12th graders, I suggest telling them to check out the Hawaii Life Smarts program. Registration for it does end December 6th. As for the newsletter, as I said, I put the link in the chat, so everyone check it out. It's speaking of things to be thankful for, there were many highlights in there of things that we can all be thankful for. There's a feature on Kauai's power grid, which has a focus on renewable energy. The UH Cancer Center received a 5-year designation from the National Cancer Institute. So apparently they have held that since 1996, which it also means that they have $11 million in a grant going towards that. And then also something that I think this board in particular would be interested in is that the Attorney General launched a webpage for anyone seeking mental health and substance abuse support, or at least anyone seeking the department's help with filing assisted community treatment petitions in family court. So definitely check it out. If you have any questions to take back to the governor's office or DCCA, I'm happy to take those, but if not, I will pass it off.
Thank you. We have a question from Member Davis.
Sorry, could you just repeat the title of the program for the 6th to 12th graders?
Yes, sorry. It is Hawaii Life Smarts. If you're interested in it, you can go to lifesmartshawaii.com. It's an educational program that's free that prepares students to enter the real world as savvy consumers.
Thank you. Thank you. And you had Mr. Ilahia Johnson from the Hawaii Tourism Authority tonight as well?
Chair Lee, Neighborhood Board, mahalo nui for having me to share a little bit about our work in Japan and answer some of your questions that came up at the last meeting. But before I begin, I just wanted to jump back in the agenda with your indulgence, Chair. I did see Rep. Ikaika Olds pop on, as well as Rep. Kim Koko Iwamoto.
Thank
So
you. And I
congratulations to
apologize
both of
to
you.
our new representatives. Our elected official reports have yet to be updated, and so I thank you for your patience. Johnson, if you want to keep going with your presentation, and we'll go back to newly elected state representatives Kim Koko Iwamoto and Ikaika Olds.
I feel like jumping in front of them might be hazardous for my operating budget in the coming session. So if you don't mind, I
So
defer to
we'll
representatives.
take that under consideration. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Let's go over to Mr. Ikaika Olds first, who is just elected.
Good evening, board. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ikaika Olds. I represent House District 23, which is Kapahulu, Mo'ili, Makali, Ala Moana-Kaka'ako. Myself and Representative Iwamoto are still new. I just got my laptop on Thursday and the keys to my office yesterday. I'm looking for some staff, so I don't have anything to update you folks with, but I will take any questions.
Thank you, Representative. Questions from the board? Okay. Thank you and welcome. Moving on to our former board member and now State House Representative Kim Koko.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to update you. As Representative Old said, we just got our keys for the office. We just got laptops. It's a slow start, and I apologize to anyone who's been reaching out. I also don't have staff yet. But I do want to share with you that Representative Olds has convened his first Keiki caucus, and he is one of the co-chairs, co-conveners, and he did an excellent job. We learned a lot. So thank you very much, Co-Chair Olds, for your work on the Keiki caucus and your leadership. Oh, I do want to share, sorry, an update. The power of your resolutions cannot be denied. You did a resolution to support good government reforms, and the way your resolution was worded, it circulated to other neighborhood boards, but it also got circulated to the legislature and the governor. I can say, and I'm sure Representative Olds can say, that we have been receiving notices of the resolutions as they keep coming in. So far, I think there's been around 8 neighborhood boards that have adopted that particular resolution unanimously. And it's just in time because the legislature, at least the House, is in the process of convening a committee to do rule changes. So it's very effective. Your standing up has been very effective. I also want to thank Member Rice and Member Chung for their perseverance and leadership to see that a crosswalk, the illuminated crosswalk done. And obviously we have to thank Speaker Psyche for rounding up the funds to make that happen. But if it wasn't for the citizens and the community rising up, and we need to do more of that, and I welcome that. I look forward to working in partnership with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Let's go back to Mr. Ilihia Johnson. Thank you for that courtesy. Now speaking on behalf of Hawaii Tourism Authority.
Yes, aloha, Chair Lee, members of the Moana-Kaka'ako Neighborhood Board, and of course our esteemed representatives in the House of Representatives. Congratulations to you both. I will see you around the building. So my name is Ilihia Johnson. I'm the Public Affairs Officer at the Hawaii Tourism Authority. Ashton, mahalo to you for reaching out to try to get some answers for some of the questions that this August body had on the topic of what are we doing to bring Japanese visitors back. So Chair, with your permission, I have just a couple of quick slides. I know it's a late night, so we'll blast through these. But I do want to make sure that I share what we're doing and have the opportunity to answer any questions that you folks have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Johnson. Are you able to share it from your screen? Oh, yes, you are.
Yep, you see them?
Yes, thank you.
You should be seeing my logo right now. Perfect. So real quick, our mission at the Hawaii Tourism Authority is to strategically manage Hawaii tourism in a sustainable manner, consistent with economic goals, cultural values, preservation of natural resources, community desires, and visitor industry needs. We do this on behalf of the people of Hawaii. We are a state agency. We are attached administratively to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism. And of course, we report to our legislators, the governor, and so on. And a 12-member board comprised of industry professionals and community folks, chaired at this time by Chair Mufi Hanneman, our former mayor of Honolulu. In short, though, we have three things that we need to do: stabilize, optimize, and realize. We need to stabilize the demand for travel to the Hawaiian Islands in the wake of things like the COVID pandemic, as well as more recently the Maui wildfires. We need to optimize the experience that our visitors have here, including making sure that they spend as much as possible at local businesses and keep those dollars circulating in our community. Ultimately, we do all of this to realize tourism's promise to support our community in a minimally invasive way, provide lots of jobs, tax revenues, and spending to local businesses. So these are the countries or source markets, as we think about them, around the world where we have active market presence. United States, Canada, select countries in Europe, China, Japan, Korea, and Oceania, which in our terms is Australia and New Zealand. We're going to focus tonight on Japan in answer to the questions brought up at the last meeting. So quick primer on visitor marketing. So we think about things in this funnel. At the wide end of the funnel are the destination campaigns that we do at the Hawaii Tourism Authority to bring awareness to the market and inspire perhaps a desire to learn more and choose Hawaii as your next vacation spot. Following that, we have the active consideration stage. We do this in partnership with private entities, through our different groups in the markets. So that might look like a cooperative campaign where a certain hotel, airline, somebody like that will chip in part of the cost of the campaign. And then when we get down into the narrower part, intent, hey, come book this room, come book this flight. That's all on the industry partners. And the bottom of the funnel there, because I couldn't figure out how to make it not a pointy triangle, that's the plane arriving. So Japan visitor arrivals, it's been tough since the pandemic. The Asian markets had some of the most restrictive obstacles to traveling internationally, or some of the latest to release some of those restrictions. But the good news is the Japan market visitor arrivals are trending in the right direction, despite the headwinds of an unfavorable exchange rate. In 2024, this is year-to-date September, compared to pre-pandemic 2019, our arrivals have recovered about 45%, but the spending, 48%. So that's promising. The visitors who are coming are spending more. The length of stay has exceeded the pre-pandemic length of stay, perhaps because of the expense of getting all the way here, folks are making longer trips. So these are all trending in the right direction. When we think about impact, you can see all these really big numbers. But all in all, tourism accounts for $2.4 billion in state tax revenue. This is from last year, 2023. $21 billion in visitor spending. 81 cents of each of those dollars stays circulating in our islands.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
apologies for cutting you off. So we are at the 8:30 mark. If you're able to
Yep, I can speed it up.
summarize the rest of.
Okay. We're competing with a lot of people. We're doing our best with the budget that we have, $6.5 million in fiscal 25. I'll leave it to our elected officials if they want to talk story about increasing that. We have lots of campaigns. The more resources we have to do the work that we need to do, the better job we can do, and we can bring more folks back here to Hawaii. Any questions?
Thank you. Board Member Rice.
Hi there, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for your marketing plan, which is very basic and appropriate. I've spent 30 years in the hospitality industry here and on the mainland. What I had asked of last meeting was when we were informed that the governor and a whole group of whoever went to Japan to try to boost business from Japan, I wanted to know specifics. This unfortunately is not specifics. This is general marketing plan 101, and it's good, but it's not what I was hoping to hear tonight. I want to know what kind of discussions, what is the state doing with the airlines to reduce airfares from Japan? Airfares from the mainland were reduced, so there's more people from the mainland coming, but the people from Japan can't come here. Hawaiian Airlines gave up 7 gates. United Airlines quickly swept them up, but it's not to Japan. Hawaiian Airlines moved their carriers to Guam. So the Japanese are going to Guam. They're not coming here. I want to know specifics. What is the plan? Get down and dirty. What are we doing to get the hotels to lower their room rates and get the airlines to lower their airfares so the people from Japan, where the yen is at 155 to the US dollar right now today, what do we do? People who want to come to Hawaii, come to Hawaii. That's what I asked for. I didn't ask for a marketing plan. To me, this is all fluff. It may not be to everybody else here.
Got it.
But to me, it is. It's basic marketing 101.
So remember, let
So
me
can
say
we
first-
get some, excuse me, can we get some specifics before January, before our next meeting? Because we're in recess next month, but there's this thing called email, and we can get an email. I want to know what the action steps are. When I was with Hilton Hotels for 30 years, we did these boondoggle trips to Japan and other places, Korea, China, mainland. And the hotels, who are the big players in the business, and the airlines are the ones that fund the trips. They also pay to go. They pay for the airfare for their employees to go. They pay for participation in trade fairs and booths and, oh, come and see Kualoa Ranch and come and see PCC, because they're the big players that can afford it. It's the little guys, all the boat activity providers at Kewalo Basin and the activity providers out in Hawaii Kai and the others that are here that are not water sports. We are suffering. The restaurants in Waikiki are suffering. Go to this thing called opentable.com. Any high-end restaurant where before the pandemic, you couldn't get in. If you want to look today for tonight, you looked at 5 o'clock for a 7 o'clock reservation, you couldn't get in. Tonight, you can get in any restaurant in Waikiki or anywhere else, same day at the time you want to go. And it's because the Japanese aren't here. So I'll get off my high horse right now, but I want specifics. I don't want a marketing plan. Everybody knows what you're doing. It's publicized up the wazoo. I want concrete answers. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, member.
Sorry, member, what was your name?
Jeannie Rice.
I'm sorry.
Jeanne Rice, RICE.
Got it. So, member Rice, my apologies that my presentation offended you. The level of detail of your question.
It didn't offend me.
Oh, yeah,
It's
no, no, let me-
disappointing
May I
that when
finish?
I ask specific,
May I
for
finish?
specific, what are we doing?
Yeah.
That's what offended me.
Got that. So if I may finish, by the time your question got to me, it was not in that level of detail. So I apologize that I was not prepared with the level of detail of your question. I would be happy to take this offline with you, as it appears that our time is short. And I don't want to keep you all here all night, but we can definitely take this offline and have a more thorough discussion. Would that be okay? I can drop my
That'd be great.
email
And just
address
so
in
you
the
know, you
chat.
need to go back to Kayla, because she was the one that was here last month. And I got huffy last month, and I'll continue to stay huffy. I'm a PR person. I know how to play the game. I know how to get to the media. HTA and the Visitors Bureau are not doing their job, and neither is the state in getting our Japan visitors back.
Member Rice, I
And
appreciate your
people are not
frustration.
spending money. The Japanese are not spending money. I have an activity business, and the few Japanese that come on my business, they ask me, "Oh, where's a cheap place to eat?" When before they would go to Wolfgang's or they go to Highs. They can't afford it right now. They're looking for the lesser expensive places to go and activities to do.
Member Rice, my apologies for cutting you off, but I'm going to keep
got
us on time.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Member Davis.
Thank you, thank you for working to answer Member Rice's questions, through alternate pathways since we are in recess for December. I am interested in potentially asking you to come present in January at our board meeting because I'm not as well informed as Member Rice is with the Hawaii Tourism Authority and the challenges that you're facing. And I do want to educate myself further. So I would actually like to see the presentation that you prepared for us. Because it's helping me to better understand, how we can support you and what we need to do in our neighborhood. But I know because our time is short, I'm hoping that you'll be able to rejoin us in a way that you have a chance to.
Money. Sorry, that's all they want, and they spend it poorly. It's my opinion. Sorry.
Thank you. But I'd like to hear a little bit more about the statistics and how, we are addressing it. So please do come and back and visit us. I would really like to hear your presentation.
Mr. Johnson, thank you for being here this evening. As Member Davis mentioned, if you are able to come back in our January meeting or any time in 2025, we would really appreciate it so we can address some of our board members' concerns. Thank you for being here this evening. Okay, moving on. Congressman Ed Case's representative, not here this evening. We have our announcements. We have the 2025 neighborhood board elections coming up. The timeline is online. We also have our social media accounts. As mentioned earlier, our next action committee meeting is scheduled for December 12th. We are in recess for December, and our next regular meeting will be on Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. Our board meetings are broadcasted in Olelo. So Olelo, thank you for being here this evening. And with that, our November meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.